What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Huddle Within Podcast. Thank you very much for tuning into this week's episode. Look, if you do enjoy today's episode, feel free to subscribe wherever you do get your podcasts. We're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, Amazon, you name it. We're all on it, and we bring out the latest sporting news on a weekly basis. And we've added a familiar item, as you can tell, to the early days of the podcast. We have the Collingwood frame, as you can see, to your right, to my left. We've brought it back from my old place into the new place here, looking nice and awesome as well. And, I want to sort of build up a bit of a collection there. You've seen a white wall for about a few months now. And hopefully I can add some more frames around the studio as well, just to make it a little bit more sort of sport themed. But yeah, today, speaking of sport, we are going into the latest sporting news. And, again, if you guys have come through the Zuru journey, thank you for tuning in. Before I was opening Zuru balls and before I was, getting on that train of trying to find Messi and Mbappe, I was doing podcasts like this and I'm still doing them. So, welcome if you've come from those videos. I hope you are enjoying those Zuru collections. We're on day 8 at the moment. We're looking to get day 9 very shortly. And still no Messi, still no Mbappe, which, it's a bit of a shame, but otherwise it's just a little bit of fun, like at the moment we're collecting those Zuru players and, it's adding to sort of my setup. And how I can add them into the podcast is the question that I'm wondering because, I don't really have anything at the back behind me to hold it. So, we'll have to figure it out, especially when I do eventually, hopefully, get my hands on a Messi or Mbappe. And, a lot of people are starting to do it. So I'm getting restless now. I really want to get my hands on at least one of them to sort of, not really wrap the series off, but make that series, nice and fun and people be excited for when I eventually do pull it. But it will happen. It's just only a matter of when. And, that's been a whole lot of fun too. I've got a bunch of Zero balls to open still, bought a pack the other day and, keen to just continue to open those up. But we're here for sporting news. And last week we didn't really touch up on the Premier League, but it did make a comeback this week. We had Arsenal playing Wolves originally. They choked from a 2-0 deficit to draw 2-2. And they came back and responded in a very, very good way. And that was against Tottenham, 4-1, smacking them. So 8-2 on a season aggregate, which is quite embarrassing for Tottenham. They find themselves on 29 points and they are like literally close to the relegation zone, which, look, they're not going to relegate, let's be honest. But can we imagine if it did happen, how hilarious that would be and the amount of shithousery that would occur with that if Tottenham were to relegate? I think it'd be a massive embarrassment and probably one of the most shocking things that we could have ever seen in the Premier League to see Tottenham relegate. So I don't think it's going to happen, but they're getting closer. And it took a Eze and Gyökeres performance to sort of get them there, 2 goals from each. It's what probably Arsenal wanted to see from their new signings. Eze is obviously copying a lot of stick online and he responded really well there with some goals. And look, he's only had 6 for the season. I think that puts him up to 6, which is good. And, it was a long time since he did score a goal, but he has been struggling to get game time in sort of Arteta's squad. It seems as though that Arteta doesn't fully trust Eze right now, but I'm sure that would get him a lot of brownie points, especially getting 2 goals. He loves versing Tottenham, 5 goals in 2 games. It is quite impressive as well. And, they're all in their competitions and Arsenal currently sitting comfortably on 61 points. City got a game in hand, so they might drop the deficit to 2 points. But really, Arsenal just have to continue going. They have a pretty light schedule. I'm pretty sure they've only got City in the top 6 to verse. And, it's on them. And I think one other team. So Arsenal, can they win the league? Everyone is thinking that they could potentially choke. And, when you have a team like Man City who go and sign Semenyo and Gueye, which were undoubtedly probably the most informed players in the Premier League for their respective clubs, and now joining this Man City team, it's really hard to look past them and think that they will not win another Premier League. But it's really a 2-horse race. It's definitely going to be between Man City and Arsenal. Maybe Aston Villa can sort of sneak in, but look, I highly doubt it, let's be honest. I really think that Arsenal and Man City are going to be the ones to sort of compete for the title. And that's going to be a good watch. They obviously have each other, I think, in the Carabao Cup final. So we're going to see a lot of Arsenal City matchups. We could potentially even see them in the Champions League, the way things are going. So look out for it, because that is a matchup of the ages, and that's going to be a new rivalry. And I'm really keen to see. I think they go up against each other in April, how that goes. And I think there'll be a lot of ramifications there. So, the Prem, about, I would say, 10 or so games to go now. It's getting real tight. It's getting real tight. And, speaking of other tight things, I think the top 4-5 race is very tight at the moment. United get a crucial 1-0 victory against Everton. Strong first half, very sloppy second half, I would say. Everton were the much better team. And look, we defended well. So you take take 3 points away from home, especially given the fact that Everton did beat us 1-0 when we had 10 men. So we managed to rectify that performance. But then you think about it and you're like, as a deluded United fan, you think, what happens if we did beat those struggling teams? Bournemouth, we drew. Wolves, we drew. I think we lost points to West Ham. We obviously lost points to Everton. Like, change those around, and you're talking about a team that could have potentially competed for the league, which sounds crazy, because last year United were like really under the mud. And I know Carrick's finding a way to get these players going. He's done a good thing in Manu. I think Manu's completely just reiterated his career and is now making a bit of a case to potentially be in that World Cup squad for England. I'm not saying he should start, but I think he could offer something for England like he did in the Euros. So maybe Thomas Tuchel selects him as well for the World Cup squad. And I'm sure that Manu is super keen to get there. And I'd love to see him there, because he's one of my favorite players at the club, him and Casemiro. We're obviously going to finish up with Casemiro at the end of the season, so we'll definitely need to replace him. But, if we can solidify top 4 football, that will mean that we will attract players to come to the club. So, United are doing well by sort of getting victories, getting results. Could have been a bit better, some of the results we had, but, we're getting close to that top 4. But Chelsea and Liverpool are breathing down our necks. It's going to be one of us 3 that will potentially not qualify. So, Liverpool, they're getting results. They beat Nottingham Forest. Chelsea messed up there with the 1-1 draw. So, there's a lot to play for in the Premier League, and it's going to get spicy. And I think United have the best advantage because they are currently not in any other competition. So their players are going to be the most fresh, but at the same time, we're not utilizing our whole squad. And that's why we actually desperately need at least European football. But why not go for Champions League when we're around there? At the start of the season, I predicted we'd finish 5th. At this point, from memory, I do think that gets us Champions League based on sort of the format and the point system and how good the league is. So we'll take that. We will take that to the grave and hope that, we can get back to Champions League. And, that's where United really belongs. I think we're suffering expenses-wise and profit-wise, even the club. So they'd want to really get into Champions League football as well. Round 0 is coming close. Just a quick one on that. You got Collingwood and St Kilda, which I'm really excited for. Like I said, when I follow footy, it's mainly Collingwood. I do support the league all round and some players, but fundamentally, I'm watching the Pies. And, I don't know how the Pies will go, but we'll see. I think that they can potentially still make the 8, but I think our window is closing slowly, which Pies fans won't want to hear that and might disagree, but that's how I feel. But yeah, I'm keen to see how the season goes. It's still a couple of weeks away, so obviously we'll get closer to breaking that down and, talking about it on this podcast as well, because, how good's Aussie Rules footy? I feel like it's been a while since we've watched it, and I think everyone is keen for a whole new season, especially in winter. And, it's really hard to sort of find things to do on like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night, and footy gives you that opportunity to sort of do something in those moments. So, bring it on the AFL. Should be good. As an early grand final predictor, I'm going to say that Gold Coast will make the grand final as a hot take. Will they win it? I don't know. I think Brisbane are looking strong. They might go for a 3-peat. So by default, I'm going to say them. But as my hot take, I'm going to say Gold Coast to take it all out and actually make the grand final. Really depends if they do stumble across Brisbane. I think that's going to be their bogey team if that's the case. So, we'll look out for that. Brownlow medalist, Nick Dacos. It has to be the year. Must be. The team might be terrible, and he might just carry us to a top 4 position. If he can get an average of the highest disposals and get us to top 4, then he must win the Brownlow. Like, he's been robbed so many times. Nick Dacos has to win a Brownlow. And I'm just going to say that, like, because he also got robbed of the EJ medal. So, they've got to give him something. But that'll pretty much wrap up footy for now until we move on to, the season and breaking that down as well.
Just wanted to take a moment to thank you guys for tuning into another episode of the Huddle Within podcast. If you do enjoy episodes like this, or this episode specifically, be sure to leave a comment and a 5-star review wherever you do get your podcasts. It'd be also great if you could like and subscribe wherever you do get your podcasts, so we can continue to show this out to people that see sports exactly the way that you do. But without further ado, let's get straight back into it.
Look, I want to quickly talk about the NBA. And, we had this discussion last week sort of about the situation in the league, tanking, the dunk contest and all that jazz. And look, it's not going to be good. I'm quite personally a bit angry with the league at the moment. And it could be because my fantasy team's doing terrible, but I am just like, and it's funny because I'm a Wizards fan, and I think the best thing for the Wizards is to tank. And I've normally not been against tanking, but it's going too bloody far. There are teams, and we still have like a month or so left of the regular season, and we still have a shit ton of teams just shutting their team out completely. The Kings are out, the Pacers are out, the Wizards are obviously out, the Nets are out, the Utah Jazz are out, the Pelicans are just out because they are just shit. They're not even needing to tank. They're going to lose their pick. And the Bulls are out. And more other teams are out that I can't name on the top of my head. And it's just like, it's a shame. Look, we know that it's really hard to win a championship, but having this many teams shut out and a lot of players just not playing is simply ridiculous. And I just knock it down to one simple thing. I always say this, I think 82 games is just too many games. Like, you're not getting the best quality basketball. You have players missing out on games. Poor fans that are buying their tickets want to watch the Stars play, and they're all sitting out. Your stadium attendances are so low. I don't know if you guys seen the latest tweet, maybe a few days ago at a Wizards game. You had about like 5,000 people there. Like, how can you tell me that the league is in a good place with 82 games and teams tanking? You're losing money on stadium and fan attendances. And like, you can blame the franchises. Yes, you can. But at the end of the day, they want to try and get the best player possible, retool their team, and try to compete in the championship. But like, 82 games is just too many in general. Like, no one is going to play good basketball with that. Simply just get it down to at least 68 or 72. Just drop me 10 games. That way, we can have some good quality basketball, and, people don't take as many rests. The NFL do it so well. I know they play once a week, but every game means something. No one is actually actively trying to tank unless it's the last 2 games of the regular season. But we're looking at like a whole month of basketball to go, and teams are just done after All-Star break, done, set. And it's like, okay, players are not playing, they're getting paid more than ever, and teams are tanking and their profits are higher than ever too. You've got the solution. You've got 2 teams coming in potentially, Vegas and Seattle. Got off the top of my head, Seattle. When they come in, the games have to drop. They must. Because you can't tell me you're adding 2 extra franchises in there that's going to get you 164 games. You can't tell me you can't drop a 10 games each. Yeah, okay. You probably get about 320 games lost. But who cares? You're only going to lose theoretically 160. And you're still going to make that money up from attendances if the freaking fans are there. They're not there at the moment. The Wizards games, they're not coming. I'm pretty sure SAC fans are not there. I'm pretty sure Indiana fans are definitely not coming. So, look, the league does have to fix the tanking issue, but I think the bigger issue is the fact that you have too many games and no one is taking the regular season seriously because there's so many bloody games. And that's what happens. Players sit out because they're like, oh, the season's done. We're about 20 and 40. We're like 15 and bloody 35. Like, they're not going to play. You know what I mean? That it's done. Like, you're literally 20. You get 10 games up, you're 15 and maybe 25, or maybe you're 10 and 30. Like, it still theoretically does sound bad, but it's not as bad as 15 and 40. Like, come on, guys. Like, you're telling me that there's not a lot of games. Like, this is the issue. You just ruin the craft of basketball. And the players, man, they're just taking a paycheck. They're like, look, I don't need to pay. I don't need to play. I've got money. But the franchise is looking after me. They need to take my salary out. It's a bit of a headache. And look, I'm sitting there acting like I got the answers. I think fundamentally, drop the games. Everything else, Adam Silver, fucking figure it out. Because it's actually getting really hard to support and watch it. Like, you just don't know who's going to play every day. And the teams that just do the injury reporting are just ridiculous. Like, you had Franz Wagner, who was supposed to be back from his ankle injury 4 to 6 weeks. He hasn't come back. He's come back for 1-2 games and his ankle's still cooked. You've got Steph Curry, who apparently was going to be back after the All-Star break, now was reevaluated for another week. And then that's an extra week of the Warriors just being shit. And that's an extra week to say, look, we're just shit. Curry, just keep sitting out. We don't need you. And that's my point. You're losing that. And this never happened in the 90s. I know it was a different time, different league, but the players are getting more money. The league is profiting more than ever. So there needs to be a fix because you're losing it. Like, I'm getting frustrated, and I freaking love the NBA. I love basketball, but it's so hard to just follow it every single day, knowing that, one, my team is sort of phased out, and two, teams are just fucking tanking. But yeah, I could probably get on a bigger rant about it. But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm just coming to tell you that, like, the NBA is really frustrating me. And honestly, the playoffs and the lottery reveal can't come any sooner. And, I just hope the Wizards can get good. So then that way we just, get off the sort of this train now, because it's getting worse. And I don't really want to be part of it now because teams are getting shut out. Yes, it does benefit us. And I think we need to sort of reset our team. And we probably need AD and Trae Young healthy for next season. But let's just try to compete. Teams are better when they're competing. And, superstars are better when they're playing. And they just keep getting shut down. They're choosing to shut down. And, they shouldn't be getting that money if they're not playing the 82 games that they're actually supposed to be getting paid for. So, Adam Silver, it's up to you to figure it out. And, I really want the league to be in a much better place, in a league that's sort of like how the NFL is. I think NFL is just doing a great job to sort of mitigate tanking, and teams are just a lot more competitive. So does expansion help that? Does the game reductions of the regular season help that? I'd love for you to give me an opinion and let me know about it, because, I've just noticed that it hasn't been as good. And, obviously time, busyness and all that, but at the same time, fundamentally, we're not getting the best possible quality of basketball that we could probably get as well. But on a final basketball note, shout out to Baskonia, who won the Copa del Rey in Spain, the basketball league. Vitoria Gasteiz, big win. Not too much about them. They're in the Eurobasket League and obviously in the Spanish league, and they won the Copa del Rey, and they add to sort of their long sort of history of winning those trophies as well. So just wanted to plug that out there. They get the victory in Valencia as well. So that was quite awesome too.
Just wanted to take a moment to thank you guys for tuning into another episode of the Huddle Within podcast. If you do enjoy episodes like this, or this episode specifically, be sure to leave a comment and a 5-star review wherever you do get your podcasts. It'd be also great if you could like and subscribe wherever you do get your podcasts, so we can continue to show this out to people that see sports exactly the way that you do. But without further ado, let's get straight back into it.
So the Winter Games has finally concluded as well. And, it was a pretty stellar Winter Games. We had Norway, the favorites, taking out the entire medal tally with a total of 41 and 18 gold medals, followed by the USA as normal. They always seem to be up there. But special shout out to a few stars, Alin Gu, who actually competed in 3 different freestyle skiing types, took a gold medal. And then we had this 16-year-old girl from Australia, Indra Brown, who, again, 16 years old, competed in the freestyle skiing with Alina Gu and came 5th. 16 years old, 5th in the Olympics. So close to getting a bronze. But what an effort from the young Australian, the youngest in that competition, at 16, to be able to get a 5th place, 5th in the world in freestyle skiing. Simply impressive. And, in 4 years, look out for her. She'll be 20. Maybe she gets a gold. Who knows? But what a run from her. Look, I watched the gold medal game, and freestyle skiing is pretty awesome. She's a bit young, so I don't know if she had the power to have the elevation. But I know that when she elevates higher in the future, her moves are incredible. If she's able to elevate, she'll definitely be a gold medalist one day. And you get older, you develop, and I think she'll be able to do that. And this is coming from a freestyle skiing expert. I don't know much about it, but I assume based on body mechanics and physics, when you're older, you're able to generate more power, which allows you to have high elevation, physics. That would help her in the future, I think, because that's what sort of let her down from not finishing top 3, but her moves were just simply incredible. And Alien Gu was just off the charts. She was incredible. And, shout out to her. And overall, shout out to everyone that did compete in the Winter Games. Like I said, I'm not very familiar with the sports, but I was amazed to see all the different types of unique sports the Winter Games had. And, I've got the names sort of down pat now. You had the biathlon, which is the shooting and the skiing, and then you had the luge when they're facing backwards, and then you had the forward one, and then you had the freestyle skiing, you had the Mongols. It was incredible. It was just different. It was different to watch those type of sports as well. So, that's finished up. They had the closing ceremony, and we look into 2 more years where we have the Olympics back again. And in 2032, it'll be in Australia, which will be really exciting as well. And then to cap it off with some WWE, Elimination Chamber is this week. The winners of the respective men and women Elimination Chambers will take on either Jade Cargill for the Women's Championship and Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. In the women's, you've got Raquel Rodriguez, Kiana James, which was a massive surprise, Asuka, Rhea Ripley, Alexa Bliss, and last but not least, if I can remember, it is, how could I forget? Tiffany Stratton, who I think is actually going to take out the Elimination Chamber. It makes the most sense. The same Rhea Ripley is the favorite, but she's in a current tag team with Io Sky, so I think that's going to be for her. And, that storyline might develop in the Elimination Chamber. We'll have to see. But I think Tiffany Stratton looks to be the favorite coming out of that one. And then you've got the men's. You've got Randy Orton. You've got LA Knight. You've got Cody Rhodes. You've got Jey Uso. You've got Javon Evans. And let's talk about it. Trick Williams, who's going to bring out his lemon pepper steppers and have the whole world screaming, whoop that trick. Man, that guy's been unbelievable. Like, if you have not watched WWE in a long time, and I always say this because not all my fans are big WWE fans, Trick Williams is the guy right now. He is more hotter and over than ever. And good to see him in the Elimination Chamber. He's going to belt out the whoop that trick. But I do think that the winner has to be Cody Rhodes. I think Cody Rhodes is going to win. It's looking that Jacob Fatu might be in contention for the WWE Championship with Drew McIntyre, and I don't know how he gets involved. I definitely think Drew McIntyre is going to be involved in this match. So just look out for it, because Cody Rhodes looks to be the standout favorite. We've got Randy Orton in there who just got attacked by Drew McIntyre, and you have Jacob Fatu who actually got costed his opportunity to be in the chamber because of Drew McIntyre. So Drew McIntyre is putting his nose in everyone's business. He obviously doesn't want to take on Cody Rhodes and Jacob Fatu. There is that underlying mysterious question as to who attacked Jacob Fatu when he got injured. And then Randy Orton, with his long history of Cody Rhodes, is also a question as well. So a lot's happening there. And then you're sitting there with LA Knight, who's on Raw, who probably needs this match for that exposure, but isn't going to win it. Trick Williams and Javon Evans, who just bursted onto the main roster, who have a chance to expose themselves at the chamber, which will be really exciting. But yeah, that's pretty much what's going to happen. Maybe Cody Rhodes wins it. I think he does, but I don't think it's just going to be him and Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. And we'll obviously talk about that because WrestleMania is coming close. We just got to get through this last PLE of the Elimination Chamber, which also has CM Punk taking on Finn Balor. And obviously, I think CM Punk is 1,000% going to win this. I don't think Finn Balor wins at all. It's just how they set him up for versing Dom Mysterio at WrestleMania for the Intercontinental title. I think that's where we're going with that. And then AJ Lee taking on Becky Lynch, which has been a bit of a disappointment in terms of the hype and the promos. So I don't know who's going to win that one. My heart says Becky Lynch, but I think these two need to just battle out at WrestleMania. So maybe AJ wins it and Becky wins it back there. But that one's going to be a fun to watch too. So AJ CM Punk headlining the singles matches while we have the men and women's elimination chambers as well, which is going to be exciting. And that will sort of take the shape to what WrestleMania will be when it comes to those titles as well, which are both on the SmackDown side and are both seen as sort of the main championships. But I think people are more invested in the Punk Reigns sort of battle, and even Liv Morgan and Stephanie Vaquer is going to be more exciting. So, those are guaranteed matches for WrestleMania unless somehow Finn Balor gets the victory and it just cooks everything. I doubt it. But we'll wait to see how that goes. And then some sad news is that we've actually lost another member of the Vision. That's 3 members of the Vision in 4 months. We lost Seth Rollins in October. We lost Bron Breakker a couple of weeks ago. And now we're potentially losing Bronson Reed, who looked like he was actually supposed to qualify and win the match. And it would have made the most sense. They had to pivot during the match in real time to Jey Uso. He didn't look obviously happy for it. And now we're getting Jey Uso in the Elimination Chamber, and we have no clue what's happening with the Vision. Like, that's going to be crazy. Like, you've got Austin Theory, you've got Logan Paul. Maybe they just, battle out for the tag team titles. That's all they can really do, because I don't see any of them stepping forward. Bronson Reed was the guy that had the potential to step forward as he was part of the original crew, but now he's injured. And, he's missing 2 WrestleManias. So sad for him. I really feel for him. And we're losing Bron Breakker as well. So that's probably like the most unluckiest group. Like, to pick players, people that get injured, all from the same group, is just really unfortunate. And I really hope they all recover and get back to it, because I think the Vision has been a great addition to Monday Night Raw, and it's something that I've really enjoyed investing in and watching as that storyline develops. And Paul Heyman leading the helm there helps so much. So now it's probably up to Austin Theory and Logan Paul to carry the Vision's legacy. But that's going to be really hard, because we still have that bloody masked man who's been attacking everyone on Raw too. So, look out for it. Elimination Chamber this week, and then we've got WrestleMania. And that's sort of when the end of the season of wrestling happens, and then we reset again the next day, the Raw after WrestleMania. And that's what we love about wrestling. That shit don't end. And, I love it. So keen for it, keen for Elimination Chamber. And I'm excited to see how that goes. But again, it's been another episode of the Huddle Within podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in once again to all the latest sporting news. Again, if you do like this episode, feel free to subscribe wherever you do get your podcast. Check out my socials as well. I'm doing the Zuru Ballers Road to a Messi and Mbappe Super Rare, and that's pretty fun at the moment. That's getting a lot of exposure too, which is cool. So jump in on the train. If you've miraculously have come from the podcast and don't know what I'm doing on the social side, and if you've come from the social side, this is my podcast. Welcome. Thank you. And, I'll catch you guys next week. Cheers. So that's a wrap for this week's episode of the Huddle Within podcast. I appreciate you for tuning in and being part of this community where we go beyond the game and into what really matters. If this episode resonated with you, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who sees sports just the way that we do. And hey, I'd love to hear from you. Connect with me on my social medias, which will be linked below. Send in your thoughts and even be part of a future episode. Until next time, keep that passion alive, stay in the huddle, and remember, it's always deeper than the game. Cheers.